You're worth it. When's the last time that you actually embraced those words? Not in the treat yourself sort of way, but the really deep hearted understanding that I am worth it. I can have this. Okay. Today in our mindset episode, we're going to dive deep into this. I look forward to talking about how Halloween candy and your worth and your self image are all wrapped together. No pun intended, but definitely a pun there. Welcome back to another fabulous Mindset Monday. I am grateful that you are here. If you haven't already hit the subscribe button, do it now because you don't want to miss any episode that is headed your direction. Additionally, if you haven't written a review as of yet, please scroll all the way to the bottom, like very, very, very bottom of Apple Podcasts, and you can write a review there. If you're listening on another platform, unfortunately, you might not be able to write a review, but I appreciate shares as well. Sharing is caring. All right. Well, you heard in the introduction when you first popped on today something about Halloween candy and your self worth. Like, Julie, seriously, how can these two things be wrapped together? Okay, I think I'm totally going to run with that pun throughout this episode. So sorry, I'm going to be cheesy. Okay. So, I noticed that I've been sharing this with, I've shared this with three different people in the last 36 hours. So I had a conversation with a good friend, and as we were talking, I just picked up on this undertone in the conversation. And this friend didn't say anything overtly. It wasn't like neon lights, blaring at me. But what I heard beneath everything was this limiting belief based off of his self worth. And I was like, wow, this person is a super successful business person, like rock star, leads lots of people, and is amazing. And I couldn't believe that I picked up on this like little hint of a limiting belief. So I said, hey, like, have you thought about, this? Have you thought that you are actually worth this? And there was this pause. I kind of felt a little slightly uncomfortable bringing this to the surface because I don't know, maybe it's actually something I didn't know what I was going to be getting into. Okay. And sometimes we don't. But what we do for people we care about is that we actually go there and we ask those difficult questions or the uncomfortable questions. And so that's what friends do. So I asked a friend the question. There's this pause. And then it was like, wow, I don't know if I've ever thought of that. And then this analogy came to mind. And if you've been listening long enough to mindset episodes, I usually have an analogy for something, pretty much everything. Let's see if this makes sense to you as well. Um, Many of you have probably experienced the joys of going trick or treating for Halloween, right? And I know that we've enjoyed taking our kids. We have a really, there's like two neighborhoods in our small town. And so, anyhow, we're able to take our kids to this one neighborhood. We did not manage to do that this past year, but it's fun. They see their friends are all dressed up. So, but the point is that they walk away with this ridiculous amount of candy in a bag. And it's like, oh my gosh. I won't lie, we may or may not have taxes involved. No, I'm kidding. You got to pay taxes. We drove you there, so give us a Twix. No, anyhow, in this bag of candy, right? And I hope that right now in your mind, I want you to just picture that bag of candy. And if you don't go trick or treating or anything like that, what you could think of is the last time that you may have filled out. My kids are doing this right now at our local library. There's like a guess how many are in the jar type thing, and it's a candy jar. And so they're writing their guesses down with a phone number, hoping to win the jar of candy. So you can just think about this in any context that's necessary. So you have this bag of Halloween candy, and it is full of everything, right? You've got the M&Ms, little packages of those. You've got the snack size Snickers, and you've got the little tiny, Milky Ways, and right, you have all these things. And then there's this other candy in there, the candy you don't like. Admit it right now. There is candy in there that you don't like. And if you were a kid trying to trade with another kid for candy, it has a very nominal value. Okay, so I'm just going to pick on one particular candy. It's that candy that's just the basic old fashioned candy. I think it's typically Brock's, right? And it's wrapped in a clear thing and they're delicious, but they're not like grabby, they're not super appealing. And you might have to trade two or three of those in order to trade up for a Reese's or something, other than what you have. So the value is not quite the same. So you have this bag of candy and you've sorted out that candy. Maybe you're going to make some trades with siblings or friends. And guess what's usually left behind? It's exactly the candy that I was talking about, right? It's that kind of more generic candy. My friend was explaining, I said, what would you do? And he's like, I eat that candy. That's the one I eat. And I'm wondering how many of you eat that candy. You eat the candy, you don't even like that candy, but you eat it anyway. Here's an interesting thing is that sometimes we're holding on to something that we don't even like. In my friend's instance, my friend's holding on to some things because even though they're not serving the business well, it's like, but I don't want to let them go. But part of my value and worth is tied to this. And so as we look at our lives, we can look at it as this bag of candy and say, is this candy holding me back? As long as I am holding, if my hands, and if you're on YouTube, you can see if my hands are full of something, then I can't grab anything else. If I have a handful of M&Ms, I'm not going to be able to grab with that same hand a handful of Skittles at the same time. So, what's occupying your hand? Is it serving you well, or do you need to let it go? So you see, sometimes we're just holding on to that one candy and we don't really like it, but we hold on to it because, well, we have some candy at least, right? And we find value at least in having some candy. As long as you're holding on to that particular generic piece of candy that you don't even like, you can't get what you want in life. You have to release it and free it and be done with it. So, what does this have to do with everyday life? Well, maybe you need to start letting go of some of those passing remarks that the Karens at your workplace make, right? There's always a Karen or a Doug or all of those people. Everywhere you go, you're going to have somebody like that that's speaking at you. What about just releasing their words? What about maintaining a really strong perspective and saying, well, that's that that makes sense that that's coming from that person because that's their framework, not my framework and not my identity. I don't need to hold on to that. I release that. I choose to release it. What about expectations for yourself? Maybe you have an expectation that you're going to finish a task, like maybe you're going to finish a webinar and you have the sequence, but it has to be just absolutely perfect. Instead of releasing that and saying, it might not be perfect, but I can release this video series or this webinar, I can release this in segments that are manageable. You see, when we release our expectations, then we can receive other opportunities that could take us further down the path of our dreams and closer to our goals. It's so exciting. It might be releasing people's comments. It might be releasing our expectations for ourselves or a project. As you know, I've spoken about it before. It might be releasing certain people from your life so that that influence isn't there pulling you down. Lots of ways that you might want to release. Now, here's the other important part about this is that you can receive. Oftentimes, I find people have a difficult time receiving. They don't believe that they are worth it. And their idea of what would make them worth it is so through the roof astronomical that they'll never be worth receiving anything at all. Reframing your worth. Your worth is more than that piece of generic candy that you've been holding on to. When I was talking with my friend, I said, what's your favorite candy? Well, I don't really eat much candy, was the response. I said, well, come on. Okay, I get that. I know. Okay, base is covered. I know you don't eat much candy. Probably don't eat much sugar, right? Check, check, check all the boxes. And then I said, but what's your favorite candy? Okay, well, I guess Reese's is my favorite candy if I had to have a candy. Okay, great. You deserve the Reese's. You're worth the Reese's. Do you hear what I'm saying? You are worth it. You don't have to hold on to the generic piece of candy. You are worth the Recess or whatever Mars product you want, or Skittles Starburst. You can be a pink Starburst, okay? You are worth it. You are important and you are giving and contributing to this world in powerful ways. Treat yourself like it. Now, if you were a spectator in your life, would you deny, or maybe let's take it this way, if you're a friend, would you deny your friend the very best? Would you deny your friend the pink Starburst or the Snickers or whatever it is? No, you would give that to your friend generously because you see the value in your friend. But now it's time to turn that mirror around and to see your own value and what you are giving to the world, because you're amazing. You are giving and contributing. So treat yourself as you, we always say it, the golden rule, right? Treat others the way you would treat yourself. So how about we really embrace that and start treating ourselves with the grace and the kindness and the compassion and the empathy, and valuing ourselves just like we would value other people. Value your gifts and talents just like you value your friends and your colleagues and the people you aspire to be. There's one thing that stops so many people from getting to where they dream of going, and that is they simply don't see themselves for what they are really worth. One friend suggested write a resume. Write a resume for yourself and look at all of your accomplishments. If you look at all of your accomplishments versus the things that may be some setbacks, right? We fail forward, or failure is feedback. That's all it is. But if you look at that on paper, I bet you're going to be pretty amazed. Right now, I'm in the process of rebranding and redesigning my website. And I'm starting to have this aha moment as I'm working with my web designer and going through some of the prompts that she's given me to work through. And as I'm doing that, I notice I'm like, wow, who is this person? And I've been shocked. Sometimes we're so busy, caught up in the moment, caught up in the ambitious work towards our dreams, that we forget to look back and celebrate all the accomplishments along the way. Huge accomplishment that I am going to celebrate at this exact moment, because I just had this aha as I'm recording this, is that this is going to be the 101st episode on Ask Me How I Know. I was so caught up in producing content to serve you, and just being diligent and tenacious with driving my business forward, that I completely missed that I had reached my 100th episode. Those are huge mile markers, huge celebrations that we need to pause and say, wow, I did it. Take a moment and write out some of your accomplishments. Write down 15 things that you've accomplished just in 2021. I bet you will amaze yourself. But as you go through that, I want to challenge you, don't hold yourself to a different standard than you're going to hold other people. Hold yourself to the same standard that you would hold your friends or your colleagues, okay? And when you do that, I bet you're going to be wowed yourself. One of the wows that I got as I was evaluating and going through the prompts for my website was that I led a lot of different lives, not contrary lives, but I'm a person that as soon as I see something that needs to be changed in general, I try to make that change right away. And then just by nature of being curious, I've had a variety of careers. Have you stopped to look at all the things that you've done? I have managed to go from working fast food at age 14 to working in a restaurant for a couple years later in high school, to working in sporting goods, to teaching, to real estate like sales, to real estate investor, to back to teaching. I've been a wife, I've been a homeschool mom, I've been just a stay-at-home mom, I've been a working mom. Like, if you start looking at the life and all of the things that you have, all the lives that you have led. Now, go back to last week's episode, not secret lives. Stay away from secret lives, okay? So never have a secret life. But if you look at your history and what you have accomplished over the years, I think you'll be pretty blown away. Even if you've been in the same profession, let's just say you're in technology. Even if you've been in technology, I bet that your hat and your roles and responsibilities have shifted over the years, and that you have been able to grow and flourish in a variety of areas. And just as I did, don't just look at your career path, but also look at your relationship path, look at your life path, and say, wow, I've been able to experience these things. It's amazing. You are worth it. You are worth the Reese's, the pink Starburst, the package of Skittles, whatever the best candy is inside that bag of that Halloween trick or treat bag of candy. That's you. Treat yourself like it and unlock the potential that is within you so that you can go and shine to the world and help others out. Until next time, go find your freedom.
Thanks so much for joining me for another episode of Ask Me How I Know. This episode was brought to you by 3 Keys Investments. They are dedicated to helping people like you, you, my awesome listeners, develop passive income and legacy wealth through multifamily investing. Feel free to check out their website, 3keysinvestments.com, to see if there's an offering that will help your portfolio grow and meet all of your needs. If you haven't already rated, reviewed, subscribed, liked, all of those bells and whistles, I would be absolutely honored if you would do that for Ask Me How I Know. Thanks again, and go make it a great day.